Hey everyone, in today's regular dude gun and gear reviews video, I'm going to be going over my Mossberg 590 Shockwave short barrel shotgun. I'd like to assume that it's safe to say that if you're watching this video, you're already very familiar with the Mossberg 590 series of shotguns, whether it be the 590 or the 500. These shotguns come in various different barrel lengths and different configurations. The Shockwave itself comes with a 14.1-inch barrel and typically comes with a short little bird's head grip that is roughly at the same angle as this. It differs from a pistol grip shotgun. What caught a lot of people's attention with the shotgun when it was released a few years ago was that you could buy something that was something this compact, which is roughly from here to about here, without having to go register it as an NFA item or be considered a short barrel shotgun. And Mossberg did this by adding the bird's head grip that gave them just enough room to say that the overall length with its smooth bore was not considered a shotgun. It was considered a quote firearm. With the ATF and all of their logic, I got them just barely over the minimum length in order to not have it be considered a NFA item, whether it be a short barrel shotgun or an AOW. This is actually my second Shockwave. I did buy one back in about 2017. I kept it in the configuration as it came with the bird's head grip. I did add a Crimson Trace, I think they call it the laser side saddle. It mounted around the receiver and around the top. It put a laser aiming module on the side that was thumb activated. I also did add one of the Tacstar hard plastic shell carriers on the side of it. I had a Crimson Trace light mounted to a CDM mount on the front of it. I thought it was really cool at the time. I got it because I've always loved shotguns from being a very young age of watching action movies as a kid, specifically the original RoboCop. At that time, when I bought my first Shockwave, I was living in a condo, so I kept it loaded with number 4 buckshot because I didn't want to blast through multiple walls with all the residents that were living around me. Took it to the range. It was not bad to shoot, not fun. With the bird's head grip being at the angle that it is, it kind of forces your wrist at an angle where you have to shoot it from the hip. If you try to do it with arms outstretched, it puts your wrist at a really funky angle. It makes it feel like it wants to break. So shooting from the hip, I think most people know that, shotguns, they're not just to aim in the general direction, you'll hit something. They do actually have to be aimed. I figured that the laser side saddle would make up for that. And maybe in some case it would. So once I finally got out of that condo and got into a house, I started keeping the double aught buck in it. And I will tell you, the first time that I went to the range, I shot double up buck in it. That was the last time that I shot that Shockwave. Definitely was not very fun to shoot whatsoever, and pretty painful. I know there's plenty of Shockwave owners out there that are perfectly happy with keeping the bird's head grip and don't have any issue shooting it with full power buckshot, but that's not for me. So ultimately, I ended up trading it off towards a different gun. If I remember right, it was an AK or something like that. But I think I mentioned in my Beretta A300 Ultimate Patrol review, while I have always loved shotguns, it's kind of like a love-hate relationship. I don't really enjoy shooting them. Shotguns, they have a lot of blast, they have a lot of recoil. They're not the most pleasant to shoot. And I've owned several shotguns over the years, probably more so than any other type gun, and I've always ended up getting rid of them. That all said, I feel that every self-respecting gun owner has to have at least one pump action shotgun in their inventory. So the last one I actually have was a Savage Stevens 320. Had the pistol grip and buttstock on a ghost ring sights, and to be honest with you, the thing was a bit of a turd. I was never really super happy with it, but it's very inexpensive. I decided that I wanted to go ahead and give the Shockwave another shot. But I figured if I was going to do it this time, I was going to go ahead and short barrel shotgun it. Pay the $200 stamp, get it registered. I mean, why not? I already have several other NFA items. Let's go ahead and get a shotgun that I really wanted to get in the configuration that I wanted. So while I was working on knowing that I was going to short barrel shotgun this, the first thing I wanted to do is decide what type of stock I wanted to get for it. I know one of the very popular stocks for Remingtons and Mossberg is the Magpul SGA stock. It is very well regarded. Has different shims that you can put in to adjust the length of pull. On most shotguns, as they come from the factory, the length of pull is way too long. What a lot of people end up doing is either getting that Magpul SGA or getting a youth or bantam length stock. Don't really like the way that the Magpul SGA looks, so I started looking around at different options out there. I know that the Hogue, which is I believe the Hogue Bantam, is about 11 inches in length. A lot of people said that it was a bit too short. Ended up finding the choke machining tool. This one here does come, it's about 11 inches or 11 and a half inches, and then you can add on a 1-inch recoil pad to get you to that overall length of pull, and it's not too squishy. It's some pretty firm rubber, so it's not like it collapses on your shoulder when you're firing it. So not super crazy with the way that this looks. I don't really care for this pattern, but to me, a pump action shotgun, they're not made to look pretty. No guns really are, though. You can find you can look at some ARs or some other guns out there, and you can just really kind of be enamored by the way that they look. To me, a shotgun is just like it's like a hammer. You just throw it around. You don't really care about it too much. The finish on it, as you see, always gets kind of scratched up a bit. Start getting wear marks and action bars and whatnot, but didn't really care, or I don't really care about the buttstock as long as it serves its purpose. So decided to go this route with that. My last, or I should say other shotguns I've had other 590 A1s. I did change out the safety on it. I don't remember the brand of the safety. I think it's the NDZ. And honestly, I didn't end up liking it. I don't find anything wrong with the OEM one that comes on here. It's grippy enough. If anything, I felt the NDZ with its raised lip it kind of pressed into my thumb a little bit. Wasn't super crazy about it. Going into an optic for it, I really debated on getting the Mossberg Ghost Ring sight set. On my first 590 A1 that I owned, I loved those Ghost Ring sights that were available, or that I had on it. Everywhere that I looked, they were not in stock anywhere. So I thought, okay, well, the next option is going to be, I'm going to put some type of red dot on it. So ended up deciding to go with an RMR. It's what I had available, and for the mounting system I used the EGW mount. So the EGW mount, it is actually not specifically made for the Mossberg 590. It is for a 670.670 diameter receivers. There are several guns that's listed that it will work for. It picks up the existing receiver holes that are drilled and tapped on top of the Mossberg Shockwave. I know you can get a section of Picatinny rail, which I actually did and bought first, but I did not like the way how high it made it sit, and it really looked kind of clunky. So glad I found the EGW mount. Very solid option. I believe it costs around like $55. The one downside to it, if anybody decides to get this mount, is it comes with 3 different length screws, and none of them are long enough. But interestingly enough, I emailed EGW and asked them what the thread pitch was, and not only is it a challenge finding the thread pitch, but the screws that they have for the mount, they're a shallow countersunk head. So they're not very common. I went to a couple different hardware stores, couldn't find anything even close. They mentioned to me that they do have longer screws available, and they sent them to me for free. I really wish that they would just send them in the pack with the mount itself, but at least they did send them for free. And if you can see there in the picture, it's probably kind of hard to tell. The thread protrusion is definitely very acceptable. The longest ones that come in the pack, you can feel, there's probably maybe 3 or 4 threads that get engaged in the receiver. I was not feeling very good at all about that one. On this one here specifically, I have the RMO6 RMR, which is a 3.25 MOA dot. Would have preferred to have a 6.5 MOA. Really, honestly, I would like to have the one that's got the amber triangle to it. The 12.9 MOA triangle. Unfortunately, that is only offered in the version of the RMR that is dual illuminated, where it uses tritium and the fiber optic strip. And all of my experience in the past say that those don't adjust to the light very well, and they don't illuminate very well. ACOGs with their larger strip, they work a lot better. but the little bit that you get on the RMRs, it just isn't enough. So it does the job. Definitely pretty happy with it. Definitely moving on to the forend. I went with the Streamlight TLR Racker. Any defense gun whatsoever, you definitely need to have some type of light on there. I had looked at these in the past. I know the Surefire offering is a lot more appealing to the eye, I think, but the light available is definitely pretty weak. With the Streamlight TL Racker, not only is it a lot cheaper than the Surefire offering, but the illumination, the output is a lot greater. It's basically like having the TLR1 HL wrapped up into a shotgun forend. So you get 1,000 lumens, I believe it's 20,000 candela. Definitely very acceptable. Runs on CR123A batteries that you load in the back. It has a pressure pad that runs the length here. You can either press it for temporary or press it and have it stay on. And that matches on both sides of the gun. Does look a little wonky with this piece here, but we're not really too worried about that. Does the job. I've heard you do get a bit more wobble in the forend than you do with the OEM foregrip that comes on it. Typically, it does also come with a strap. I ended up just taking the screws out and taking the strap off because it's so loose. I don't even really see what purpose it holds. It just kind of hung there. So for me personally, I decided to take it off. Remove the front sight bead since I was not using it. Just circling back to the sights again, another reason why I definitely wanted to have a red dot was because the Mossberg Shockwaves are notorious for shooting high. You go look at the forums. I mean, I saw this myself when the previous one I owned, but they shoot anywhere from 8 to 12 inches high, and I know that seems very odd. And from what I gathered on the forums, it's because the barrel it sits so much lower than the front bead. So if you index your front bead off the top of the receiver like you typically would any other beaded shotgun, it ends up shooting being a little bit too high. I know you can buy aftermarket beads for it. Some people said, hey, go get the XS.1, solder it on. I don't want to mess with any of that. So that's what made me go with the RMR. And I still actually have thought about going ahead and getting the 590A1 Ghost Ring sights available. I saw that they are back in stock at Midwest Gunworks. But I think I'm just kind of roll with this one the way that it is, at least for now. So now to talk about ammo, I don't think anybody can argue that 12 gauge double aught buck is absolutely devastating for the ranges from 25 yards and in. I know it can do damage beyond that, but it's pretty common knowledge that buckshot, our shotguns are a close range tool when you are shooting buckshot. So definitely know I wanted to go with the shot cards. That is absolutely my favorite. The piece of Velcro that I got this on Amazon. I think it's 3M heavy duty Velcro. So you get the loop patches, allows you to go ahead and put the shot cards on there. These are the S-Tac. These are 6 shell capacity. They make them in various other lengths. I go with only the 6 because being a lefty, my trigger finger gets right around here. If I have an extra shell on there, like a 7 card carrier or an 8, it impedes my knuckle right here. So definitely wanted to just stick with the 6. Plus that gives me the 5+1 capacity that the gun's able to carry anyway. And then going on to the buttstock shell holder, I wanted one specifically or that fit a little bit better and better quality. I believe I bought a Gear Spectre. But that one was actually made for the Hogue Bantam, and I was hoping it would work with this buttstock, but it did not. So this one here is just some cheap Amazon one that I want to say was around 10 or 12 bucks or something like that. It holds 7 shells. I only keep 6 because, again, being a lefty, this last shell gets in the way of my wrist. You see, it doesn't fit very well. It's kind of ugly, but it does do the job. Took it to the range yesterday, ran some shells through it, and it stayed put for the most part and gives me the added capacity to have 12 rounds of ammunition overall. Because like everybody says, when you run a shotgun, you're gonna shoot what you have on the gun, and while you have some devastating power with 12 gauge ammo, you are limited by round capacity. One thing that I'm still struggling to figure out is a sling mounting option. So this thing has absolutely been kicking my butt, and the problem that I have is on the front end of it. So as you see, it already has a sling stud swivel, sling stud, my apologies. And the problem that I have with this is if I go ahead and use that, the sling drops right in front of the light and completely impedes it. So that wasn't an option. I did try one of the G&G plates that mounts in between the magazine cap here. Didn't work out very well. The cap never felt like it could get tight enough, and you could see there was a little bit of a gap here. So I ended up scrapping that one out. Haven't found a replacement for it yet. I do have. I took the sling stud out of the buttstock here just to get the shell holder onto the buttstock. You know, typically that's where I'd want to mount it. They do also make plates to add in between the receiver and the stock, but that's kind of a moot point if I don't have a way to mount it on the front. I know with something this short, I mean, I could go single sling, single point sling, but I think if you've never experienced it for yourself, you know, single point slings were probably invented by, I think John Lovett from Warrior Poet Society said it best. Some hateful woman that wants to see men get their nuts smashed by their guns. So yeah, single points are definitely less than ideal. So right now I'm not currently running anything. If any of you guys have some solutions out there for me, I would be more than happy to hear them out. The last hope that I had, and I want to say it was by Defender Tactical, they do make a more solid pick section that mounts underneath the cap here. But it will not work with the Streamlight Forend because it extends too far back. As you see, the front of the Forend goes all the way to the magazine cap here, and that small section of pick rail would go about right here, where I could attach a Picatinny QD point. So that one's out as well. So again, I definitely am open and would be happy to hear any other suggestions that anybody has out there for me, because right now I'm stuck when it comes to the sling. I have also picked up one of these Defender Tactical mini shell adapters. I just haven't mounted it yet. It goes right in here in the gun. It does also come with an anodized aluminum end cap here, or I'm sorry, a follower. And what that allows you to do is, with the mini shells available on the market today, it will allow you to reliably run them in the Shockwave here or any other Mossberg shotgun. It's just made, it's kind of like a soft plastic flat. And all I do is you shuck a new shell in here and throw it back. It'll give a little bit of a lip here for the shell not to fall at the bottom of the gun, and it'll allow you to run mini shells. I haven't personally tried any of those yet. I know that Mossberg, I think they call it the S series, the shotguns they sell that allow you from the factory to run mini shells or standard shells. From what I'd read on the forums, this is actually a better option, and it was pretty cheap. I want to say it was only like 15 bucks or something like that. So if that's an option, you want to run mini shells, check out Defender Tactical. So lastly, on to, you know, some of my thoughts on why you would want to have a shotgun like this. You know, some people may say, well, it's kind of pointless having a shotgun that's short. Other people may argue that's the perfect length. I know there's a lot of police departments out there, you know, cruisers that still run shotguns. They'll run a 14.5-inch barrel. It's not like an AR where when you get too short, it's just not effective anymore. You still get plenty of firepower with this, and then also, even though it is a smooth bore and it does not have it's just full cylinder choke, if you buy the right ammo, it does actually hold a decent pattern. Honestly, my intentions with the Shockwave short barrel shotgun was really more just kind of like a novelty. I'd use it for the range, and it'd just be kind of cool to shoot every now and then, show off the friends and whatnot. But took it to the range yesterday and shot it for the first time, and I got to tell you, I was actually very tremendously impressed. But a big part of that has to do with what ammo that you choose for a shotgun. I'd always thought that, you know, just in general, double out buck, you don't have to buy nothing fancy. You can buy the cheap Turkish ammo, all the different brands that are out there, the stuff that you can buy for really, you know, cases of it for really cheap, versus getting something. I think probably the most popular is the Federal 12 gauge round double out buck that has the flight control wad. And the flight control wad is a little cup, and the way that it's segmented, it really holds the pattern and the buckshot together very closely. By the time it makes it to range, you know, speaking of 25 yards and in, instead of having a larger spread, you got a pretty tight group even at a distance. So Couldn't get my hands on any of the Federal, but I was able to get my hands on a case of the Hornady Black. So the way that I understood it is that the Hornady Black uses the same ammo or the same wad, flight control wad, that Federal has. Federal, I guess, doesn't make it. They buy it from somebody else. So I picked up some of this, and along with that, I picked up, I think it was Spartan ammo, bulk 12 gauge. I was just going to use it for the range, to get this thing on paper also, and then really see how it patterned up with the double-aught buck here from Hornady Black. And I say there is a huge difference, even at 7 yards, with its 9-pellet shotgun shell. That Spartan, it had a pretty wide spread on it, and I'm talking about, you know, shooting an IDPA standard target. The spread went from almost shoulder to shoulder, from neck to belt. It was very inconsistent, and again, that was only between like 7 and 10 yards. Whereas taking the Hornady Black, it kept it in a pattern that was about that big. It was absolutely crazy. So if if you want to make consistent hits with your shotgun, I do highly encourage that you buy something that has the flight control wads, whether it be the Federal, whether it be the Hornady Black. You definitely can throw a lot of firepower down in a very small area. Now, on top of the Hornady Black, I did also pick up some Federal True Ball slugs, which I keep 2 of them on the gun here. Nothing fancy, it's a rifled slug, and you have to use rifled slugs in a smoothbore barrel. But I wanted to check them out, and deciding on what I was going to zero the RMR for, whether it be buckshot or whether it be slugs. I kind of debated it, and then I finally decided, you know what, I think I'm gonna just go ahead and zero for the slugs first, and I was gonna zero them at 50 yards, and then see how the buckshot patterns and zeros compared to it. So that's where I was really impressed with this little shotgun. I was using a tripod as a rest, but at 50 yards, I was able to make consistent headshots on an IDPA target. Really kind of blew my mind. 590 Shockwave, headshot. Boom. Yeah. That might not be anything astronomical for people who really are shotgunners. Again, I am not a shotgunner. I hardly ever shoot them. I don't really enjoy it. In fact, my shoulder's still feeling a little tender from going through this yesterday, and also shooting the Beretta A300. But I was super impressed with that. With this little 14-inch shotgun and the RMR on there, to be able to consistently make headshots from 50 yards with, a quality slug, it was super impressive. And then I don't know if it's just coincidence, or if that's the way ballistics work, but coincidentally, when I got in closer, but 7 to 10 yards with the Hornady Black, it was pretty much point of impact as well for zeroed for the RMR. So super happy with that one. I do definitely feel that this can be more of a useful tool. If I grabbed it in a pinch, I think I would grab in one of my ARs over any 12 gauge shotgun any day of the week. But if this is something that I did have, and I had to make a shot on something, I would feel pretty confident that I could actually make accurate shots, and put slugs on target, and actually be effective with buckshot as well, with that really nice pattern that it has with the flight control wad. So that is my Mossberg 590 Shockwave short barrel shotgun build in a nutshell, a long nutshell. Again, I think now, finally at this point, I have 2 shotguns that I'm gonna be happy with, be it this and my Beretta A300. Pump action and semi-auto, both definitely offer strengths and weaknesses. I know some people say that a pump action is more reliable. You don't have to worry about cycling issues. You can just cycle them yourself. So whether you shoot birdshot, whether you shoot buckshot, though, you know, I know with that said, short stroking is typically the most commonly seen issue that is reported from shotgun courses. I know yesterday I ran into that issue myself. I'm gonna roll in a little video of that. It's a little bit embarrassing, but I was trying to make get some video of me on the move while going through a tube with the Hornady Black, and really kind of screwed myself up. But so pros and cons of semi-auto versus pump action. I think everybody should have at least one of each in their inventory. But I think if you had to choose just one, I would definitely go with a pump action over a semi-auto. But all right, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. Definitely have been appreciating all of the new subscribers I've been getting, the comments and the feedback. Keep them coming. Have a good one.